Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Canada has been in a recession for years. Now, you might be surprised to hear it from me because you haven't heard it blaring in all the other media, but I'm referring to it on a per person basis, a per capita basis. We are each getting poorer. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So really 6 months in a row where you're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. That's called a recession on a national scale. That's been happening to Canadians on an individual basis. But to cover that up, to hide that decrease, they've just juiced immigration by so much, literally bringing in millions of foreign nationals just to keep the global number higher. But on a per person basis, we are all poorer than we were. It's not just that. It's not just that the economy itself is shrinking. It's that the burden that taxpayers must carry is getting heavier. And I was shocked to see the headline today by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation in a news report by our friend Franco Terrazzano. Here's the headline: Bureaucracy balloons by 99,000 employees over 10 years. That's a city's worth of employees. If you're wondering why it's so hard to make ends meet, it's because you're carrying another 100,000 people on your back. Joining us now via Skype is our friend Franco Terrazzano. Franco, great to see you again.
Hey, Ezra, thanks for having me on.
Do you know the total number of federal civil servants? And by the way, why would I limit it to Fed? There's provincial government, there's municipal government, there's so many different people who are not helping to pull the wagon. They're in the wagon while the rest of us push it. Give us 99,000, that's huge.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, there's now more than 357,000 federal government bureaucrats. And you're right, it's not just the federal level, right? You got the provincial government bureaucrats, the municipal government bureaucrats. It's really a story of the taxpayers versus the tax consumers, right? The makers versus the takers. But if you look at the federal level, I mean, the bureaucracy has absolutely ballooned over the last decade. There are now 99,000 more federal bureaucrats today than what there was in 2016. And Ezra, I don't remember hearing about some bureaucrat shortage in Ottawa all the way back 10 years ago. And it's not just the number of bureaucrats that are increasing. Taxpayers are also paying for a bigger bureaucracy, taking bigger paychecks, right? So the number of bureaucrats has gone up 38% in a decade, but the cost of the bureaucracy has gone up 73% since 2016.
You know, I didn't realize what a large percentage that was. So if you're saying it's increased by 99,000, and if it's 357,000 today, that means that 10 years ago, and you correct my math, maybe I'm doing this wrong, there was just over 250,000 10 years ago, 258,000. So that is such a huge increase. It's not like a 5% or a 10% increase. What's 99 over 258? That's got to be close to a 50% increase. We have not received 50% more in services or 50% better services. Like, what are they actually doing? How can you add 100,000 people and everything seems to be worse? The service, like every aspect of government, other than tax collection, that they're doing very well.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be public servants, but who is really serving who right now? You know what I mean? And look, there are 7 federal departments that more than doubled in 10 years. Okay, let me just list some of these numbers off here. Infrastructure Canada saw a 375% increase in its number of bureaucrats in less than a decade, right? 375% increase. Women and Gender Equality Canada, 334% increase. So there are 7 departments that have doubled or more than doubled in the number of bureaucrats over the last 10 years. And as I mentioned, Ezra, it's not just the number that is going up, right? It's also the pay, the bonuses, the perks. So the average compensation, when you look at salary, bonuses, pensions, other types of perks, the average compensation for a federal bureaucrat is now $125,000 a year.
Yeah. You know, I'm looking at your press release here, bureaucracy balloons by 99,000 employees over 10 years. And you've got those bullet points. Infrastructure Canada, up 375%. And I'm just thinking, a lot of infrastructure, when I think infrastructure, I think ports or highways or overpasses, stuff like that. A lot of those are funded by multiple levels of government. You have the city, the province, the feds sometimes. Really, when I think of federal infrastructure, they're not involved in everything. I'm trying to think, why would they need to nearly quadruple the number of bureaucrats at Infrastructure Canada? Like, I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, I live in Toronto, which is a dilapidated city falling apart. What infrastructure are they talking about? Are we getting 375% better infrastructure in this country because we got 375% more bureaucrats in infrastructure?
No, I mean, but that's the whole story across government, right? Where you're seeing the cost of government go up, you're seeing the size of government go up, but yet taxpayers are not getting better quality services. I mean, like, here's the other startling point here. So, okay, let me talk about the taxpayer-funded bonuses, because I know your listeners, your audience will know of the CBC bonuses, right, that they've been dishing out year after year after year. Well, all of that is also happening across the federal departments as well. So the federal bureaucrats have taken $1.5 billion in taxpayer-funded bonuses since 2015. Well, you might be asking, well, how are they doing? Well, the results are in, and the performance is poor. So look, these federal departments are failing to meet half of their own performance targets every single year. They can barely meet half of their own performance targets. And like, think about it, folks. Like, these aren't performance targets written by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. This is their own performance targets. It's like they wrote their own tests, and yet they can barely squeak past a D-.
Yeah.